Before the United States became a superpower, before its flag was known across every ocean, before the world associated America with strength and global presence, there was a moment when this young nation faced a simple but defining question. Would it submit, or would it stand? Far from its shores, in hostile waters, American sailors were being captured. American ships were being seized. American citizens were being sold into slavery. And the world expected the United States to do what others had always done before it, to pay, to bow, to accept humiliation in exchange for temporary safety. But what followed was something no one expected from a young republic with a small navy and little international influence. What followed was America's first war overseas, a war not for conquest, not for territory, but for dignity, freedom, and national honor. This is the forgotten story of the Barbary Wars. At the dawn of the 19th century, the United States was still finding its place in the world. It had won its independence, but it had not yet earned the respect of powerful nations. Across the Mediterranean, the Barbary states, Tripoli, Algiers, Tunis, and Morocco, dominated the seas through piracy and intimidation. Their ships captured foreign vessels, their rulers demanded tribute, and their prisons held thousands of men in chains. For decades, European powers paid to avoid conflict. The United States, vulnerable and untested, did the same. But every payment carried a price far greater than gold. It sent a message that American lives could be bought, that American freedom had a price, and that intimidation would be tolerated. And eventually, that was a price America would no longer pay. In 1801, when the ruler of Tripoli demanded even greater tribute and threatened war, President Thomas Jefferson made a decision that would define the character of the nation. The United States would not buy its freedom. It would defend it. War was declared, and American ships crossed the Atlantic into dangerous and unfamiliar waters. This was not a campaign of empire. This was a statement of principle, a message to the world that the United States, though young, would not be bullied, and that its citizens would not be abandoned. American sailors and Marines now faced an enemy that knew these waters, controlled the coastline, and had practiced piracy for generations. Yet they sailed forward, carrying with them not only weapons, but the resolve of a nation determined to be free. Then came the moment that could have broken American will. In 1803, the USS Philadelphia ran aground near the harbor of Tripoli and was captured by enemy forces. Hundreds of American sailors were taken prisoner. The ship itself was turned into a weapon against its own fleet. For any nation, especially one so young, this could have been the end. A reason to retreat, a reason to negotiate, a reason to accept humiliation. But instead, the United States chose something else: courage. Under the cover of darkness, a small group of American sailors led by Lieutenant Stephen Decatur entered Tripoli harbor. Surrounded by enemy guns, vastly outnumbered and deep behind hostile lines. They boarded the captured ship, set it ablaze, and escaped without losing a single man. It was an act of daring so extraordinary that even foreign admirals would later call it one of the boldest naval operations in history. It was a declaration, not in words, but in fire. America would not be intimidated. In 1805, the conflict reached a moment that would echo through American history. U.S. Marines led a dangerous march across the desert and stormed the city of Derna, raising the American flag in victory on foreign soil for the first time. This was more than a military achievement. It was a symbol that the United States was no longer a nation that merely defended its shores. It was a nation willing to project its values beyond them. The words that would later be immortalized in the Marine Corps hymn, "To the Shores of Tripoli," were not poetic exaggeration. They were history, written by men who had carried their flag into the heart of danger and refused to let it fall. The First Barbary War ended with American prisoners freed and a new reality established. The United States had proven that it would protect its citizens wherever they were, that its ships would sail without paying tribute, and that its freedom was not for sale. But the story did not end there. Years later, piracy returned. Once again, American ships were threatened. This time, there was no hesitation. In 1815, fresh from the War of 1812, the United States Navy crossed the Atlantic with confidence and force. In a swift and decisive campaign, American warships defeated the pirate fleets, forced peace upon their rulers, and ended the practice of tribute forever. What once required negotiation was now secured by strength. Than protect American what once demanded payment they shaped the identity of the nation itself. They proved that the United States would not live in fear, that it would not surrender its principles for comfort, that American freedom did not stop at the edge of its coastline. In these distant waters, long before the world would know America as a global power, the United States declared something far greater than victory. It declared who it was. A nation that would defend its people. A nation that would not bow to tyranny. A nation that believed that no citizen should ever live in chains. Today, the Barbary Wars are rarely mentioned. They are absent from most classrooms and forgotten in popular history. Yet they marked the moment when America found its voice on the world stage, not through conquest, but through courage, not through domination, but through determination. This was America's first war overseas, and in those distant shores against impossible odds, the United States proved something that still defines it today. Freedom is not granted, it is defended. This was not just a war. It was a declaration of who America is.